Good afternoon, family. This is Brother Lukeman. Got some information I want to depart with my brothers and sisters in hopes that this might spark some type of inspiration, motivate you in some form or fashion to further this information that I'm about to depart to you guys. It's chronic information. The name of the title is How the Quran Explains Man and Mankind. These are Arabic words that the Quran used to explain man and mankind. So what I want to do in hopes of establishing a foundation that we can build from. So I suggest that you brothers and sisters who are watching this, and if you are, I appreciate you tuning in, and I'm going to open up with the greeting of peace, the universal greeting of peace, with Assalamu alaikum. This is, I believe, in my personal opinion, is a good start, a good foundation, something to start from dealing with the Quran, number one. Number two, this is something you really don't have to have a real grasp of the Arabic language. This is all you have to do. These words that the Quran used for man, what you can do is, once you take this chart down, and if you take the time to actually look at this and study it and apply it, you can take a mental picture of these words. Nasiya, I already have them defined pretty much how they are actually used in the Quran for the most part, and I gave you some ayats dealing with each word to where you can look them up and get a better example, get a better understanding of what I'm saying. But what I was saying about the mental picture, you can look at a word like this is insane in the Quran. This is the way it looks in the Arabic. You can take a mental picture of this word, and you can go to ayat. You can go to Surah 95, 4-6, and you can look in there and look for that word right there in that form. That's where it's going to look. And then in the translation, just look for man. Just look for man, mortal, human being. And one of these words you're going to see over there, and you see this word, you'll know that's how they translate it. Same with this one. Same with any of these words on the board. Any of them on the board. And I think this would be a good start, a good foundation, and something to take amongst your fellow Muslim sisters and brothers. You can sit down and have a little classroom, a little group discussion with it. You can take it to leadership. If it's something that you need clarity on, that you need to be more of a clear understanding on, and see what they have to say about it. And this is going to be continuing. I'm going to continue this. I'm just going to put some of it up here at a time, not, just not going to try to bombard the mind with a whole lot. I'm just going to put something up here that's workable and foundational that we, like I say, we can build from. And over the course of time, these different series, then you'll start to understand that things have started to become clear to you in your mind dealing with the Quran, and you probably run across some things you never really paid no attention to or even sought to understand. But we as African Americans, as Africans here in America, the thing about us, and you come to realize that as we get into the psychology, get into the spirituality and the divinity of the Quran, who is who, and so on and so forth, you'll start to see that the way we learn naturally is from, just using the analogy of a car. We put it in drive and we formational in our understanding through signs, symbols, and science, the different sciences, where other people are just the opposite. It's just like putting the car in reverse. They concept of understanding and learning is sort of like reverse or backwards from the way we learn and get our understanding. So that's why it's very critical for us to learn this scripture in the language that it was revealed in. Allah says he sent it down in the Arabiya that you may learn wisdom, that you may gain wisdom from it. And he also said that he sent it down in Arabic Qur'an, and that it was easy to learn the language. All you have to do is apply yourself. Use the same tools. This is a Hanswood dictionary, which is a German guy. You have Lane Poole or the Lane's Lexicon, which is a European guy. And we have a grammar book from a European guy. So for the slave-minded and the religious-minded amongst us, that's what they need to see. They need to see that the literature comes from people other than us. And we take the literature just like the Naeem Akbars and the Wade Nobles did with psychology, going through those steps and stages of getting their degrees in psychology, took it from the base, analyzed it, studied it, and then just shredded it up and threw it in the trash. Because far as our experiences and what we've been through and the way we learn, they put a bigger, better, and broader understanding of psychology together that was tailor-made for us to bring us up out of this religious and slave psychological dump that we find ourselves in. So I commend those brothers for that. And that's pretty much what I'm trying to do. Give my brothers and sisters a foundation. Dealing with certain terms, different words, dealing with, this is a science within itself. And something to build on, something that will kind of like start your mind to thinking, start you to using your mind yourself, rather than relying on other people's understanding, especially if they don't look like you, because the understanding is like night and day, number one. And number two, people are just not freely going to depart with this type of information. You know, most people put it out for a price. They want a fee. So Allah give it to me to give to my brothers and sisters. So I'm gonna deal with a few words on the board, and you guys can look at the verses and ayats, and you can go to those verses and ayats and confirm it now, or take the information. Please take the information with you, and at a later date, like I say, put 5, 10, 15 minutes, however much free time you got, into trying to get this understanding, because it's going to be a lot that's going to come along with this that's going to start to raise your level of consciousness, your level of understanding. And I'm going to deal with the first word is Nasiyah. This is the root meaning of the word Nasiyah. And it means to forget. And I put an ayat up here, 20 and 115. And it deals with Adam. It says, somewhere along the lines, we gave Adam a commandment, but he forgot, and we found no firm resolve, or something to that effect. But the word is, if you take a mental picture of this is the exact word. That's exactly how it looks. If you take a mental picture and go to 20 and 115, you'll see that word. And then if you go into the English and read it, you'll see forgot, where you say he forgot. But the word means to forget. Now, it don't matter what form this root word takes, and it's taking different forms, but the root meaning is gonna always be present in the word. In other words, don't take no matter what form it's in. To forget is always present, because we always have the tendency to forget in some form or fashion. The next word is transliteration is in sand, and that's this word right here, in sand, which is often translated as man, mortal, human being. And here's your ayat 95, 4 and 6 for you to go look at. Take that mental picture. Remember the form, how the word exactly look. Go to the Arabic, look for that exact form in the Arabic, and then go to the English translation and look for one of these words right here. Man, mortal, human being. What this is what you call a stative verb, which actually deals with a state of being. A state rather than a place. So we're talking about up here. And I got it over here, and what it represents a state of being. And I also got it translated as that also. The next word is ins. I-N-S is the transliteration of the word. And it's also translated as man, a mortal, etc. Somewhere along them lines. And I left ayat 6 and 113. 6 and 113, you'll see this word, but it'll look like this. It'll have what you call a definite article on it, being specific. Rather than saying a man, I'm saying the man. You know, I'm being specific. So it's the same word, it just has a definite article on it. But if you look at it in that form right there, and you look in the Arabic, you will see this exact form right here, and you look at the English translation also. Same thing with nas, N-A-S-S, this word right here. So you can see it's just different forms of the same root word, just different forms. Right here we got nas, what is translated as people, humanity, and nations. And I gave you 114, 1 through 6. Where you'll see the understanding of this word here. It's what you call a collective noun, which deals with a group of people, you know, male, female, husband, wife, children, you know, little girl, little boy, so on and so forth. And like I said, I gave you Qur'an 114, 1 through 6. Now, this is the first word we come to dealing with mankind. We just got through dealing with different forms of man. Now we're finna deal with mankind, or what they consider the jinn. You know, a lot of people don't touch on this subject here because you have people who base their understanding on whatever religious organization they fall up under, school of thought, madhab, rather than step outside of the box of what's socially accepted and do their own due diligence, do their own studies, do their own analysis, and come to their own conclusion and stand on that. You know, put their faith on that, just like they put their faith in the Qur'an. The word is jinn, J-I-N-N. I prefer to translate it as mankind, based on my studies and the conclusion I came to. And I give you an example of what I'm talking about in 6 and 113. I'm just going to go to that ayah. You can see, and thus did we make for every prophet an enemy, the devils, shayateen in the Arabiya, from amongst men and jinn in the English translation. Now, why do you translate ins as men, but you don't translate jinn as mankind. Anything other than the Arabic word jinn. When you translate it into English, you leave it as the same as jinn. So that's one of the questions, we can pose to to leadership. In our own little circle. We probably can come to the conclusion in our own little circles. But that's just an example of certain words to keep from dealing with those words, the origins and the understanding of those words themselves, if they connected to some religious group, madhab, like I say, school of thought, then whatever the consensus is with that school of thought dealing with certain words, certain, ayahs, the history behind them, so on and so forth, then that's what they'll stick with. But me, I'm kind of like outside the box. I use what Allah gave me to seek an understanding for myself, and I use other forms of literature to confirm it. And what I can use of that to confirm what I'm talking about, or somewhere along those lines, I use it, and what I can't use, I just discard. It's just that simple. I discard the information. But that's just a perfect example of what I'm talking about. But if you take the mental picture and look over here in the Arabic, you'll see that word. And that's exactly like that in here. But they translate it as jinn. But my personal translation is mankind. And keep in mind, always start paying attention to the small things or the particulars, because it be the small things that means the most. Like our grandmothers and grandfathers used to say, it's the small things that we miss, and those are the things that means the most. I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about. When I say these two words here, ins and jinn, we have these same two words in the same ayat right here. So with that being understood, how do we translate both of them as men? A lot of translations just translated that as men. Some other than the jinn. But it's clear right here. It says, the devils from amongst men, or from amongst man and mankind. Seemed to me that would make a lot more sense, logically, thinking the situation over, because clearly Allah makes a distinction between two groups of people. One being human, a man, and one being humankind, or mankind. Then he goes on to say, some of them inspiring or motivating others with guided speech to deceive, with rhetoric, to deceive. And he goes on saying, if thy Lord please, they would not do it. So leave them alone with what they do. But the point being, he made a distinction, a clear distinction between ins and jinn. And that, like I said, that's a topic none of the religious leadership, some of the scholars or whatever even want to even talk about. They don't go off into something like that, nothing like that. So the other we're over here now, and we understand these two. Now this is jinn and this is jan. This is also considered a state of being. When you see this word right here, and that word is found in 15 and 26. This word is also found in 15 and 26. Bashar. It's also translated as mortal or man, but what we're actually talking about is something black or dark. And if you look the word up in the dictionary, it's going to say skin or epidermis. So we can come to our own conclusion on that we're dealing with a physical vessel or physical vehicle or body that's a specific color. That's the bashar. And there's several ayats in the Quran dealing with the bashar when they say, I'm only a man just like you. But what he says, I'm only a bashar just like you. And we understand that this bashar Allah created a certain way with a certain color. And that's for a reason. Other things they don't point out or make clear is when we deal with who is who in the Quran. Some Qurans don't even, matter of fact, let's go to 15 and 26 for a second. Just some things to think about. And like I say, we could take this information and build us a foundation with it. Just dealing with, different words that Allah uses in the Quran for man and mankind. Let's go to 15 and 26. I'll show you what I'm talking about. And it reads, Walakad Kanaknal Insan Min Sasalin Min Hamayan Majnun. And that's translated, and surely we created, it says man, but if we took a mental picture of the word, keep in mind it said we created man of sounding clay of black or dark mud fashioned into shape. He said man. But if we look in the Arabiya, this is the word we're looking at for man, insan. And it goes on to say, and he said, but it's not translated. And the jinn we created before of intensely hot fire. Men, it says, while Jana Kalaknahu min Kablu min Narin Samun. And it is translated as, and the jinn we created before of intensely hot fire. Matter of fact, the word he translated as Jinn, and the word is long A-N-N. It's like this word right here, Al-Janun, not this one right here. You see, so it's just the small things like that you begin to catch later on as you begin to start pick up on certain things. Okay, with that being understood, 28 says, وَإِذْ قَالَ رَبُّكَ لِلْمَلَائِكَةِ إِنَّا خَالِقُونَ بَشَارًا مِنْ صَلْصَالٍ مِنْ حَمَإٍ مَسْنُونٍ. I know that sounds familiar. Min salsalin hamayin masnoon. Same thing, from black mud molded into shape. But the word we get here is, and I read the translation. And when thy Lord said to the angels, I am going to create a mortal. Remember when I said mortal, man, human being, a mortal of sounding clear black mud fashioned into shape. Now, the mortal of man we're talking about, in this ayat, we're talking about the bashar, the epidermis, the skin, the physical vessel or vehicle of a black or dark substance molded into shape. So now we have And that's 15, 26 through 23. So we have the mortal, we have the man, we have the black or dark physical vessel. This is the physicalities of what the Quran is talking about. And it's very, very descriptive of what it's talking about. Some Qurans don't even translate it. I think Yusuf Ali is one of them, don't even translate it as, it's an adjective, that meaning black or dark, or of a dark substance. Excuse me. I think Yusuf Ali don't even translate the word, the adjective, Hamad. Come from the word ham. You know, like Hamites are known as, the word means black or dark. But, you know, it don't even translate it. It just say of sounding clay, molded in a shape. You know, for whatever reason, whether that's intentional or not, that's not for me to say. What I am saying is, that's more of a reason to start getting an understanding of some things dealing with this group of people as opposed to that group of people. Because Allah said He created us into nations and tribes that we may know one another, you know one another, this nation and that nation, their culture versus their culture, you know, geographical locations, the nature of this group and the nature of that group based on looking at it from an historical perspective. Two other forms of man. Well, this is really at a later time. I just put that up there because it's in that ayat 6 and 113, shaitan, and he translated it as devil. So we'll leave it at that for now. But it's actually a compound word. It's actually two words. Shade being one, being a thing, and teen being clay. Clay thing. And here's another form of Raju that they translate as man. Some instances in the Quran, they'll use the word Raju, and I think it's in this one right here. It's going to look like this. See me? Good. It'll look like that. And that's Rijal. Rijalun. Some people like to be politically correct, but this UN is only right here. That's what you call a new nation. Just, you know, it's a noun. Rijalun, when you see it in this form, it's understood by many students of Arabic to mean we're talking about people of higher stature, like political figures, people in leadership positions, like prime ministers, kings, princesses, presidents, so on and so forth. So when they use it in 72 and 6, let's first be clear on the word. They use it for man, but we're actually talking about someone that can walk on 2 feet, get up and actually walk. So we're describing something physical that can get up and walk and move about. But in this form, which is in 72 and 6, and if you look in the Arabic, you take a mental picture and look, you'll see this word right here. And it says, and I read, let's go to 72 and 6. And we'll just clear it up. He said, while jinn, that's not it. Here we go. وَأَنَّهُ كَانَ رِجَالٌ. min insi yahzuna bi rijalin min jinn. So we have rijaluns from amongst ins and from amongst jinn. Fa zaduhum rahakin. And the translation reads, and persons from amongst men used to seek refuge with persons from amongst the jinn, so they increased them in evil doing. That's where I got to translate. But the point is, they also translate this word as man also. But that's actually what it's talking about, something that walks on 2 feet. And of a high political status, that holds a prominent or political seat. So just on this alone, just studying this alone, and when you read the Qur'an, using this as a foundation, when you run across terms like man, mortal, people, humanity, nations, some say mankind. I think 1 in 114 might say men, might say mankind, might translate nas as mankind sometime. But it's a clear distinction on what Allah is saying. And one thing about the Arabic, it says what it means, and it means what it says. So with that, I hope my illustrious brothers and sisters got something out of this. This is just a small piece of, but important piece of information that we can use, like I said, as a foundation. And I'll come with another phase of this, and I'll just continue on with a, just run it like a series. And the next time we'll actually be dealing with, we'll get more in depth of how we function, or how the Quran say we function from a psychological and a spiritual perspective on the next one. So take this information. Appreciate you brothers and sisters tuning in. Take this information, do something with it, because if you don't use it, at some point you're going to lose it. So with that, I look to see you brothers next time, and sisters next time, inshallah. And with that, Assalamu alaikum.